Good morning, everyone. My name is Catherine Jellings. I am director at 3SC. As most of you will know, we run these webinars every month. And every month we try and bring you a different and interesting topic. So obviously it's a good one today when we got 33 of you in the room. So that's lovely. We are recording the session. So for those of you who would rather not appear on camera, then please feel free to leave your cameras off. And if you could all obviously do me the favour of remaining on mute when you're not talking. And if you find yourself on mute, it might be because I've muted you. So I hope that's okay. So I think that's it really in terms of a bit of housekeeping there. As I said this morning, we are very, very lucky to have Claire joining us. She's our resident expert in all things corporate social responsibility, social value act, and all of that good stuff. Claire, I'm not sure if you've seen Claire's bio. It's posted on the job advert, but Claire's done everything, honestly. We're in very, very safe hands to have Claire lead us through this session this morning. So I'm really looking forward to it. And what we're going to do as well is we're going to take questions as we go. We'd love this to be a dialogue. We'd love you to get involved. So if you do have any questions, you're absolutely welcome to post them in the chat. And you're also very welcome to pop your hand up and ask as we go. And I'll try and monitor the chat and just highlight anyone who's got their hand up. But we do try to make this as interactive and as networky as we possibly can. So I'd really love to invite you to post your information, so your name and your email address in the chat. It's also really useful to know what you're interested in. So for me, I might say Catherine Jellings, post my email address, and I might say I'm interested in employability, third sector, neurodiversity. And then it kind of gets people thinking about how they might be able to connect with you. So please do go ahead, post your details. And on that note, I'll hand over to Claire. Welcome, Claire.
Bless you. Hi, welcome to everybody. Thank you so much. I was so convinced there'd only be one person on this morning, so I'm bowled over that there's so many of you. So thank you for joining us today. I've just put my email, my own personal email, in the chat, and you can also find me on LinkedIn. So if you've got any questions and you don't want to ask them in front of everybody, because I know it can be a bit daunting, by all means, just drop me an email after this session or ask me any questions you've got on LinkedIn. So I haven't used slides, guys. Sorry. I'd much rather this is interactive. I'd much rather that we talk through this. It's quite a young topic still, even though the Social Value Act started in set up in 2012. It's still evolving. And I'm shut your ears if you're easily offended. But I do say to a lot of people, it's a bit like teenage sex. Everybody's talking about it, but they don't really know what good looks like. So we can work on that as we work through it, because I've just accepted, and for the last 3 months, I've been working as Senior Social Value Manager for Galliford Try, working on Junction 10 of the M5. So I think it's a £56 million project, and we have to deliver 30% of the value of that in our social value. So that's my current job role. A very brief resume of my background, because as you said, Catherine, oh dear, I've got a very varied background, but actually I feel very much that they're all related, if you like. So my background's marketing. So I worked in marketing for the first 20 years of my life, and I worked with every major brand that you can think of. And through the course of doing that, it was packaging design and branding that I did. I suddenly realized that actually the values and ethics behind a brand were just as equally as important as the beautiful brand design. And it took me a while to work that out when I was in that world. So I did that. Then in '99, I went to Cornwall. And this was my light bulb moment, because no surprise, there's nothing in the realms of packaging design, senior account directors in Cornwall. So I had to redefine myself, and I was at a networking event, and the largest law firm in Cornwall is a company called Codes, and they had no marketing strategy. And oh, no marketing budget. So I had to be a bit creative. So they offered me a job. I was a single mum by that time and I needed work. So I thought, I can do this. I can do this. Of course I can. Whether you're coming up with a brand identity for Volvo cars or a baked bean, it's the same process. So I worked with them. I got all of the decision makers in a room at once. And that's very important. If any of you are thinking of rebranding or getting under the skin of what the culture is of your business, get all the decision makers in one place, because the danger is you can go off, you can start looking at branding on your own in isolation, you can come back and certain people within the organisation don't like that. Don't. Get them in the room, start off as you mean to go on, get the brief right. And what I'd done with Selfridges, I did Selfridges' own label, and we got all of the competition and we had great fun, got them engaged. And if they were cars, what cars would they be? They're pretty unanimous on that. They could see that. And it's a very good positioning tool because everybody can kind of relate to cars. And then where the where the debate got lively was, okay, Code Solicitors, if they were a car, what would they be? And it was lively. Let's leave it at lively. And it took about an hour and 20 minutes for them to decide who they were. And just for those of you who are car mad and interested, it was a 4-year-old Volvo, so it was understated, trustworthy, reliable, but wasn't going to set the world on fire. So once they'd agreed that collectively, I said, okay, we know what the brand is now, where do we want it to be? And then we designed the F-Type Jag before it was designed, because it had all the heritage. Codes was set up in 1700, real sense of place. Jaguar's very English, but they wanted to be sleeker, go faster, more focused. So from that, and this was my light, I'm getting there, guys. The light bulb moment for me was that their mission statement was being part of the community of which we serve. I'm a marketeer, I'm working for a law firm, and one thing I knew was a lot of people saw lawyers as cold, stale, male and pale, sit behind their desks, talk gobbledygook that none of us understood, and charged us a fortune. So I thought, right, okay, that's going to be our USP. That's what's going to make us different. So each of the heads of department, I partnered up with relevant charities. Private client department, which is talking about probate, wills, partnered them up with Age UK. We had the family department partnered up with Relate, and so on. Which worked really well on 2 levels. Clearly, doing the marketing, I wanted the feel good stories. I wanted the good content. I hadn't thought about how it impacted on HR and actually the cultural values of that business. So it was just in the early days of social media, and suddenly people were talking about us because guess what? Code Solicitors would let trustees have their trustees meetings in our boardroom for free. Oh, they loved that. Just a free cup of coffee. The boardroom was never used anyway. So we were delighted. And guess what? The trustees of a lot of the charities in Cornwall were the great and the good. Lord Falmouth, Lady Mary Holborough. So when they came in and used it and they started talking about it, everybody thought, oh, what a lovely company Codes are. They sound really great. Then we started to allow our staff to go and work with schools. They got a good relationship with the schools. We started to home grow our own talent. People started to knock on our doors because they wanted to work with us. And suddenly the light bulb was going, oh, actually, no, I've got content for the marketing. We're delivering all this good stuff. But oh, wow, actually, from a HR perspective, people want to work with us because we're doing the right things. They stay with us. We're improving staff morale through our volunteering. So I stumbled on CSR, ESG, call it what you want, didn't have a name in those days. And I used to say doing good is good for business, and far from costing you money by investing a bit of your time and doing things differently. And I always say if you put good at the heart of what you do, you can always bring great collaborations together. So that's how I'm getting there, guys. So that's how I stumbled on it all those years ago. So I worked for Codes. Then I had a Cornwall Community Foundation knocked on the door and said, we need to engage with the private sector, but we don't know how. And I was honest with them. I said, I am your target market. I would love you to help me, because at the moment I'm doing go away money because I haven't got the time. I'm a marketeer. I don't know where the need is. I don't know if I give people money, whether it's being spent wisely. I don't know who is more worthy. Is it older people, younger people, those with disabilities? I said, I'm like a cat in a headlights. I just don't know what I'm doing. I'm not a grant maker. Help. So we sat together, Cornwall Community Foundation and Code Solicitors, and I came up with the idea of Cornwall 100. And the idea behind that was 100 businesses giving £100 a month to help them with their, what now is called CSR. I then got headhunted and I went and worked for the charity. It was very simple. I've always maintained, and I still do, there is a big chasm between the language that charities use and the language that businesses use. And we have to close that to be much closer and understand the differences in the worlds in which we operate. Businesses tend to want to sell. charities are asking for money. And so what we did with the Cornwall 100 Club was bridge that gap, if you got. So we created long-term partnerships, but the businesses all got far in excess the worth of the £1,200 a year membership. I then went and worked for the charity. So I am pleased to say that I've worked on both sides, which I think is important in my current role. And I always think what's in it for them. So if you're ever in a situation where you're about to start developing a partnership, the best advice I can give you is shut up and listen. So the minute you sit in front of somebody, whether you're sitting in front of a charity or a business, whichever side of the coin you're sitting and whatever the person is opposite you, just ask them, just be honest and just say, what are the challenges you're facing, and start listening. Underline 10 times. When I worked in charity, I used to jump in front of a business and I'd start telling them how brilliant the charity was, get really nervous, talk 100 miles an hour. They'd recoil in horror because it was all too terrifying. And then I wondered why it wasn't working. And the best advice I can give any of you is to listen, because actually, if the match isn't there, walk away. It's not going to work for the business, it's not going to work with you. So that's kind of bringing you up to speed. Worked for the charity for 8 years. Got treated appallingly, and there were 3 other charities in Cornwall where chief execs and senior people were managed terribly. And at that point, I virtually had a nervous breakdown. I was so upset that they could treat their staff so badly. All ended up with lawyers. Horrible, horrible. I hadn't done anything wrong. All I'd done was give them 3 months notice. And the chair of trustees went, well, if you feel like that, you can go now, and slammed the phone on me, down on me. So I had about a month of crying a lot and staying indoors and lying low. But it was, guess what? It's 2012. Thank you, universe. It was the year of the Social Value Act. So I suddenly thought, actually, more and more businesses, due to the Social Value Act, are going to need somebody like me that actually can build those partnerships, bring people together. So that's a long-winded way of telling you why I'm so passionate about what I do. Took me a long time. At that time, I thought, well, people are going to come to me. They're going to need me. I had to go to Westminster and say, what's going on? People, heads of procurement, I'm talking about the Social Value Act. They're looking at me blankly. It's the spirit in which it's intended. And I said, well, you're not going to change the world, are you, if you're just going to leave it lapsadaisically like that? It's not going to make the difference. So it's taken me 12 years. Oh, God, it's been difficult. And in that time, I've taken some employed work, but I returned to being self-employed. But I've just, as I said, started working for Galliford Try, and how exciting that people now finally value social value. So that's where I'm starting. So that is the shortened version of who I am. I could go on. I was board of School of Social Entrepreneurs in Cornwall. I was what else have I done? I've worked with Cornwall Chamber of Commerce, Visit Cornwall, and that was very much about the economy. So I'm very passionate about thinking local, buying local. Jamie Oliver's, I was a board member of Jamie Oliver's 15. So very passionate about social enterprises, very passionate about businesses that do good. For me, it's very simple. If you did a straight line, you've got the very, very greedy corporates here. You've got the charities are still thinking that it's about shaking buckets, asking for money. The bit that I love is the middle bit. So I like the businesses who are passionate about their CSR and giving back. And I like social enterprises because they are set up with purpose, but they also understand that making money is important in order for them to continue doing what they do. So that's the space in which I love to work. So this morning, what are we going to cover? We're going to have a quick update in terms of what CSR ESG is and what that means, why it's important to know that. Really set the scene in fact that it is a changing world. I even had somebody that I work with said, oh, you do social value, that's that fluffy stuff. He's very lucky to be alive. It's a very changing world. It's no longer a nice to have. It's not fluffy stuff. It's becoming more and more important, because wherever you are in a supply chain, you are going to have to be aware of this, because guess what? If you're Mr. Waitrose and you're on television and you're telling everybody about how good you are and that you embrace triple bottom line, and that when people say that, don't be frightened. Think of a 3-legged stool. If you take care of planet and people, it equates to profit. If any one of those legs is slightly off balance, it tips over, and that's really, really bad. So businesses who are forward thinking will be thinking about triple bottom line. So if you're a charity, you can help them with that. If you're a business, you need to think more about working with the charities, because you need to be aware of it. Because if you are in that supply chain, they will want to know, where's your CSR policy? Have you got a modern day slavery policy for bigger companies? Don't worry if you're a sole trader. Because those businesses, wherever you are in that supply chain, they are very aware of risk, because you can spend a fortune building a brand, but guess what? You can lose it overnight. Now with the Social Value Act, which is very much delivering what a client needs, it enables you to win business. And let's be honest, good practice, as I say, it's not just fluffy, but if you've got that right culture within your business, you appeal to the right employees, because guess what, guys? The new younger guys want to work with businesses with the right credentials. So CSR, corporate social responsibility, environmental social governance. So what those acronyms mean. But in real terms, it's inwardly focusing. And don't worry, guys, I've been in this role for two weeks before I realised the difference. Me, I didn't know the difference between social value, CSR and ESG. I lumped them all together, and I think people tend to lump it all together. And this is just my opinion, and I'll be really interested to hear from you. CSR, ESG, this is inwardly focusing. This is who you are as a business, what your values and ethics are. You can go onto AI, you can pull up a CSR strategy for your specific business, go through it obviously with a fine tooth comb. But that's inwardly focusing. So you need to be, every member of your staff needs to be aware of that. So sometimes it's really good just to do a survey. So your management, your directors, your management team, your staff, right the way through to your stakeholders, your customers. And if you do just 10 pointers of a survey, really useful to overlay them, because we assume everybody's got the same perception as of your business, and that you have all got the same values and ethics, but you'll be terrified because there'll be glitches and they may not actually align. So this is why this changing world, it's why it's so important, and why it's really important for you, whatever size of business. I say to even to a sole trader, just take some time out, just have a look at your business and have a look at a CSR strategy. And as I said, with AI now, it's really easy to do that. You don't have to, talking myself out of job now, because when I was a CSR freelance consultant, I would have gone in and done it. But if you just want the basics, just as an aid memoir, use AI. It's really useful. So that culture, oh, have I got a question come in? Oh no, somebody's joined. Oh, there we go. So the culture is really, really important. And I'll just give you a couple of case studies, because I'll pepper this whole presentation with case studies, because I think it's really useful to put it in real terms. So Jamie Oliver's restaurant, 15 was set up, proper social enterprise. They ran a very successful business. They creamed the money off the profit, and it went into this pot over here, which was Cornwall Foundation, and it engaged with 15 very challenged individuals from within Cornwall who probably never had a job, were sleeping on the street, had addictions, and through training to be chefs, it changed their lives. That's great. Brilliant. Everybody knew what their values were. Everybody was very clear that they're social enterprise and doing the right thing. But at that time, Jamie Oliver was shouting from the hill times. He was very high profile on TV, saying, I don't use battery eggs. I only use free range. That's my values. That's my ethics. That's what I believe. But somehow hadn't filtered down to the people that were actually behind the scenes. So a busy Sunday morning, breakfast, very, very busy. Young lad, not been in his role very long in the kitchen, was sent out to go and get some eggs. Guess what? Went to a Londis, bought some battery eggs, brought them back to the restaurant. Typically, there was a journalist in that day. So when we were talking about risk, that journalist took photographs, logged it, front page news. Not great. When we're talking about winning business, so there was a very good stationery company called Commercial in Cheltenham. Their owner had inherited the business from their parents. She watched Al Gore's movie, was absolutely traumatized by the way that we were damaging the universe. So everything they do within Commercial is about CSR. It's about taking care of planet and people, and it truly is embedded in everything they did. What they did, which was, I don't think they did it for this purpose, but it worked. They created their own social enterprise. They worked with disadvantaged kids. They got them off the streets. They worked with them, and they created a print company where these kids learned to print onto T-shirts and mugs, and it was amazing. Be prepared to fall off your chair. Lloyds Bank wanted obviously to place all their stationery supplies with a business. They came across Commercial. They saw all the good things that they did. They loved the social enterprise. And you'll get this more and more, and this tails into social value in a second. But they wanted to work with a business that was delivering good, because guess what? If they had them in their supply chain, they could say, oh, we're doing all this good stuff, but it wasn't them physically doing that. Commercial did, because they were part of the supply chain. So that won them the business, and it was several £1 million worth of business. And then another area where businesses are getting much more aware is, as I mentioned earlier, it was about recruitment. So Ginsters I worked with when I was in Cornwall, again, before the Social Value Act, but I remember talking to the chief exec, And I have to laugh because people in Cornwall hate Ginsters. But when you look on their website and you see their commitment to what they deliver in terms of looking after planet and people, they buy everything within a 10-mile radius, which minimises the carbon footprint because they're not having to drive it so far. They work with the schools. So they wanted to build a factory in the middle of Callington. Nobody wanted it. Oh, we don't want Ginsters in Callington. They're smelly pasty factory. We don't like their pasties. They eventually got planning. They built the factory. And at that time, it was quite hard to get staff. They were bringing staff in from Portugal. So as part of their giving back, they created a digital centre right in the middle of Ginsters, and they allowed their staff to volunteer, work with the schools. They got young kids in. You can't get better ambassadors than children. So the children would come in. The staff felt wonderful because they were giving back to the kids. They got a good relationship with the schools. Those children were taken on a tour all around Ginsters. And all those years ago, even then, they had big posters say, join Ginsters as a pasty crimper and end up as head of engineering. We're committed to you. Join Ginsters, go and have 3 days a year, whatever it was, volunteering in the community. Join Ginsters, we've raised X amount of money for local charities. So these children were the best ambassadors you could ever have. They were going back out into the community, talking to their uncles, their aunties, their mums, their grannies. Oh, Ginsters are amazing. So Ginsters created CSR before it was a thing. They were way ahead of their time. And the chief exec said to me, said, Claire, I'm thrilled to say that we have the creme de la creme of graduates banging on our door because they want to work with us. And it's competitive out there. So that alone was a really good idea. So there's 3 very basic case studies there, but I hope that kind of brings what I've said alive, and I'll keep talking about things as we go through this. So that's what I've been talking about in terms of inwardly focusing and looking at your own internal values, ethics, and belief. So going back to social value, 2012, social value, nobody really embraced it. The concept behind social value was that the government, public sector, absolutely realised they couldn't deliver as much in the community. And as a stick to beat the private sector with, let's create Social Value Act 2012. Let's ensure that all of our heads of procurement no longer just place their business with those who are the cheapest. They're actually placing their business with those people who are doing a lot of good, because actually that saves us money. Genius. What a good idea. We love social value. But as I said, how sad it's taken 12 years to get to where we've got to. So social value is getting more and more and more important. When I set up, people were talking about 10% of the value of the project that you were bidding. You had to deliver. So this is what I mean. Social value is externally facing in terms of what you deliver for your client. It was 10%. The project I'm working on now is 30%. The value of what we have to deliver in social value is 30%. And if it's a £56 million project, it's scary. I've taken the job on. I'm terrified. Anyway, we're going to smash it. So winning the tenders, very important. Engaging with your supply chain, because actually the supply chain can do a lot of delivery. As I explained with commercial office, a lot of your supply chain are also able to deliver that good. So working with them, upskilling them, giving them the understanding of what social value is, because even now some of the people that I work with, I think, do you really understand what social value is, what you're coming up with? Because for me, what social value means is that there's legacy as well. It's not just a box ticking exercise. And the same with your internal focus. Be authentic, be real, believe in it, do it because you care. If it's just a tick boxing exercise, it won't have the impact. And yes, with a social value, and I must have 25 headings of things that I've got to deliver. An example of that, we've got to deliver trees. Of course we have. We're putting a road junction in. Environment's right up there in terms of importance. But I know our client, which is Gloucestershire County Council, want to plant 1 million trees. So I can win a lot of brownie points if I go to them and say, oh, I've got this idea for a tree planting scheme. Actually, we can deliver X amount. Great, we could just go out. Our teams could plant them. But I'm thinking always, okay, that's the environmental bit. That's the planet bit. What can we do about the people? So I've gone to our 5 further education colleges, universities that are in Gloucestershire. I know that through COVID, more and more of the lessons are done behind screens, that a lot of the students are lonely, isolated, have mental health issues, isolated. So I'm thinking, how can we use the tree planting exercise to get people out from behind the screens, get them outside, get their hands in the mud, get them to meet new people, get them to work with the staff. Suddenly, we're not just planting trees. Suddenly, we're helping with mental health issues. We're helping with isolation. We're building teams. We're improving mental health of staff and students. We're building bridges and relationships. So suddenly, planting trees can do so much more than just planting trees. So it's really important to, whatever you're doing, you're not just looking at those headings and go tick. How can we maximize that? And what is the legacy? We could go in, do something, walk away, and it'll all be forgotten the minute we leave in 5 years' time. But there's got to be legacy. So that's always really, really important. And again, if you put the good at heart of whatever you do, if we want to build relationships with our supply chains, with our stakeholders, if we can do things like volunteering and bring those people into the mix so we can work together with teams, that's amazing. You're going to build much better relationships with people within your supply chain, your stakeholders. Volunteering, and I am going to jump up and down and shout from the highest hills, volunteering is often overlooked. So many businesses see volunteering as a tick box exercise. Everything I do, whether I'm internally focused or whether I'm externally focused, delivering the social value, always, always, always think, what is the business case for doing it? Because people will block some of this stuff, but actually if you turn it on its head and say, what are the business benefits? So an example of that, Sparex Arco, engineering company, Cheltenham based, 1,400 staff, 3 different sites, which you can imagine creates its own issues. When I was freelance, they asked me to go in. Every member of staff had 3 days a year volunteering. They only had 6% uptake. That's not great. They'd worked it out that was the equivalent of losing 13 people working full time in the community. That could make a massive difference to the communities. So I was tasked to go in and sort that out. And the best thing I did was turn it around and say, actually, from a business perspective, this isn't a box ticking exercise, because they have got, if ever you want an example of what a good CSR strategy is, go on to Sparex Arco and see their One Planet page. It's amazing. And they really do embed it. And volunteering is part of that. But I did some work in the Vale of Glamorgan, and Public Health Wales monitored how people's health and wellbeing improved through volunteering. Health and wellbeing improved by over 80% by those who volunteered. So looking at the business benefits, volunteering, yeah, it's part of your CSR. You've got to deliver it, yes, but it's not just box ticking. We can improve health and wellbeing. So working with heads of HR saying, look, these are the business benefits. If you do volunteering, you can improve people's health and wellbeing. You can bring teams together where, people work in silos. Certainly within Sparex, I had 3 different sites. So whenever we did volunteering, mix them up, get them all talking to each other. They loved it. Improve staff morale. You can be as depressed as hell. You go and work in a garden digging for a charity that needs this open space for older people to have access with wheelchairs. You come away feeling amazing because you've made a difference. We all feel better for making a difference. So morale can improve massively. What am I trying to say? Massively. And the other thing is, if you're head of HR, there might be some people within your teams that might struggle with communication skills. Well, guess what? Put them into a charity shop. Go and volunteer in a charity shop for a day. It's amazing. And those soft skills that they can learn through the volunteering is also another business benefit. So whatever you do, if you have a challenge within your business, getting people to understand it, flip it on its head. So again, going back to inwardly focus, if I sat in front of a chief exec and said, let me help you with your CSR, I shut up and I listened and I said, what are the challenges you've got within marketing? What are your challenges within HR? What are your challenges? And then turn it round and say, actually, instead of you spending £2,000 to take your staff off go-karting, let's talk to your staff. Let's do a voting system. Let's vote on what charity they want to help with, because actually they feel so much better going out and volunteering. Oh, and guess what? There's a marketing benefit to that as well, because actually we've got lovely photographs, great content. We can put it on our newsletters, on our websites, use it on social media. The community will start talking about us. It's cost you time in terms of the money of the hours that are spent, but it's not physical pounds that have come out of the business. But look how many boxes that's ticked. It's so powerful. I can't tell you how powerful it is. And again, if you want to raise your profile locally, it's really important. So Sparex Arco, they were having to recruit people from all around the world, actually, not just the UK. But because of their CSR, they were working with schools, they were homegrowing their own talent, and they were employing local people. And a little case study there for you, just to put it into context. Again, we're talking CSR rather than social value, but I love case studies. But this was a situation where a very, very good lawyer who'd set up his own law firm on the edge of a very deprived community in London, he had realised it was costing him a fortune to recruit. So he was using recruitment agencies, headhunters. He'd find people who were only driven by big fat salaries. He'd pay money to train them up. When they were trained, he put them in front of clients. And then the minute somebody else came along and offered them more money, because that was their driving force, they would jump ship. So he said, I allow my staff to go and help kids read, because where we are next to some very challenged schools. So I allow my staff half a day every quarter to go and help kids read. He said that developed a relationship with head teachers. He said from talking to head teachers, suddenly realised that some of these families were 3 generations unemployed. Work wasn't on their radar, yet some of them were super bright, really bright kids. And he said, I took it upon myself to take these bright children, take them out of that environment, buy them their first M&S suit. He said, I paid for them to go to university. He said, 28 of my lawyers are now home produced. He said, and I can tell you whenever you speak, and what's wonderful as well, of course, they're bringing the next crop up because they're working with the next school kids. But he said, whenever you speak, I'll stand alongside you and tell people how much that has saved our business. He said, the bottom line has been impacted enormously through that simple decision to commit to supporting these children that really had quite a dire outlook. And he said, and because they're here with me and I've given them that chance, and we're very much a team and we have all the same values and ethics, they don't leave, they stay. And he said, it costs me a fortune every time somebody leaves. So if you want an example of how to home grow your own talent and how much that can impact on your bottom line, I think it's a really good example, if you like. So I think it's really just thinking outside the box, just thinking differently. Always think, whether it's social value or CSR, when you sit in front of something, always listen and always think what's in it for them. You know what your agenda is when you go into a room and you meet somebody for the first time. But if you can listen, learn from that, and then come back with the solutions, that's going to be really powerful. So Galliford Try, I'm looking at time because I'm rattling through here thinking I'm short of time, but I'm not. I've got nearly an hour. So we've got loads of time to chat through all of this. But for Galliford Try, how do I word this? So I join them, they go headhunt me, I go in, I'm doing their social value. And as I said, that's when the penny dropped for me. I realised very, very different worlds. Everybody lumps social value in with CSR, ESG. But I hope I've made it clear to you what the difference is, inwardly focusing versus externally focusing. Everything within Galliford Try is very social value driven. Of course it is. That's what wins us the business. Of course it's important. And I was quite shocked because part of my induction, one of the directors said, we're just driven by profit. And I nearly fell off my chair. I thought, oh my God, our values are slightly different, but I'm working on that. Don't worry, they won't get away with it. Because I truly believe that businesses who just think about profit are dinosaurs. Because as I said, wherever you are in the supply chain, whether you're delivering social value as part of your delivery or not, if you can get ahead of the curve and get in there and focus it internally about what you do and how you do it, so important. It will win you business. It will reduce the risk. Galliford Try, we're focused because we're delivering what the client needs. But don't worry, one of my outcomes is training.
Oh, you're doing your CPD? I'm doing CPD. I'm also doing it.
Oh, cool. Talk me through it. I'm learning. I'm going to learn as much off you as you're learning off me.
So someone wandered by and was talking about this, so I just mentioned, I'm doing some CPD stuff now, so just listening to you. One thing I will say though is I was keeping my powder dry, but you were talking about stopping people from leaving the workforce. I can't remember where I saw this, but the direct costs of advertising and recruiting someone in the third sector are £6,500 per on average. So if you stop 3 people from leaving an organisation, that's £20,000, and we all know 20,000 at the bottom line is the equivalent of having to raise £40,000. Yes. So anything you can keep, you can do to keep people in the workforce is a good thing.
A really, really good thing. And the other thing, just to say to you, which is quite funny, having worked with charities and worked with business and now I'm doing social value, I hope, having worked in a charity, it's going to add value to my role, is that a lot of people are coming to me saying, okay, it's a £56 million project, you're delivering 30% of that in social value. I have to turn that around and said, please don't ask me for money, because I'm also of the ilk where I think Give somebody the fish they can eat for a day. Give them the fishing rod and they can fish for a lifetime. So for me I'm just saying, I'm not here with bucketfuls of money. I'm not. I want to change charities' way of thinking in terms of these long-term partnerships. When I was doing the marketing for Codes Listers, and I was inundated, can we have money for Aunt Maud, her choir? Can we have money for little Johnny's Scout Hub? I didn't know where the need was, who was more worthy, and I certainly didn't know. I didn't have the due diligence in place to manage where that money went. So within the social value, everything that I'm doing is kind of saying, whether it's a school, whether it's charity, give me a wish list. What is it that you need? So I might not be able to give you the money, but as you said, I can help with mentoring. I can mentor people within your organisation. I can volunteer. So if you're doing some gardening works, let's throw everything at it. Let's get those volunteers out there. Arcadis, who are the design part of this scheme, and they're delivering stage 1, they've got CAD drawings. They've got 80 environmentalists. So the Lido, for example, in Cheltenham, they've got 4.5 acres. They don't know what to do with it. I'm going to Arcadis, and this is just between all of us. You're not allowed to share this just yet. Oh, I'm so bad. But I'm saying to the Lido, give me your wish list. If you've got 4.5 acres and you want it to be biodiverse, good for the environment, a community space that people can use, I know that Arcadis have got all the best, most up-to-date CAD drawing systems. They've got access to landscaping materials. They've got materials like post and rails and fencing and all the rest of it. So actually, where the Lido was going out shaking buckets in front of all these different businesses, give us money, and the business is going, oh God, they want more money, running to the hills. I can't manage it. I haven't got time. I don't know how to monitor what good looks like. Actually, if every charity, if every social enterprise has that wish list and they are talking to businesses, you'll be amazing. Just as you said, that was a brilliant example of actually by working differently, you're saving money. Oh God, look, somebody said your brain hurting. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, your brain's hurting.
I think it's in a good way. Such a powerful message and something that is so exciting. We wish we could have an AI version of you. Everyone needs an AI, Claire. So.
Bless you. I'll be AI, it's fine. It's as I said, as the girl said when they introduced me, it was like, I'm a jack of all trades and a master of none. I didn't learn this at university. I've learnt it from walking the walk. And actually, I've been mentoring people within the public sector because, again, the public sector really haven't got an understanding of social value. And the team that are working within Gloucestershire County Council, I'm going to go in and train them because at the moment they just sit there and they see it as box ticking. I need to set them alive. Like, I hope I'm encouraging you to see the world differently, and I need to do it within the public sector, within the charitable sector. We all need to do our bit. We need to get enthusiastic, positive, because together we can make a difference. On our own, we can't. So if we put good at the heart of all these conversations, it's win-win for everybody. I can't see a negative that can come out of it. So hopefully you are kind. Thank you. Oh, look, could you share the link, please, of the CSR from Spirex you mentioned? I can't easily find it. OK, I'll send it through the girls, if that's all right, because if I try finding it now, I'm going to lose my thread. But I'll certainly share that with you because it is a very good example of a good page, One Planet. I'll have to write that down so I don't forget. Got dreadful memory. So before I just sort of go through the summary, to recap, CSR, ESG, forget the acronyms, don't give a shit what they say. Just simply think of it very simply. Whether you're a charity or a business, doing good is good for business. And from a charity, you're able to deliver it. Businesses need you now. So on the social value side, I just did training for Gloucestershire Voluntary Sector Alliance, and we had 60 chief execs in the room, and they loved it so much. We did a second session with their trustees, and I started the presentation, just said, this is your time. Put your shoulders back and your head up high, because actually for the first time ever, businesses need you. But you have to talk to them in a business language. And I know when I was stressed with the Community Foundation, I did it all the time. I'd sit in front of a business. I get really stressed. I taught them 100 miles an hour, tell them what an amazing charity we were, because I didn't want to get to the bit where I had to ask them for money. And how stupid. I should have shut up. I should have just said to him, really interested about your business. Tell me about your business. Marketing. Have you got any marketing challenges? Have you got any HR challenges? You don't have to solve it there and then. Understand, get under the skin of their business and come back with solutions. Really important. And that will ensure you have a long-term partnership. Another case study, me and my case studies. Years ago, before social value, Kier Construction, coincidentally, had seen me at an event, heard me speaking, and they came up to me and they said, you're absolutely on the money, Claire. We as a construction company, they just bought May Gurney out, which was a street cleaning company. He said we wanted to win a contract in the depths of Devon. So he said we went into Devon, we understood what the challenges were. He said, and so when we put the tender in, this is before social value, hopefully this was the seed that created social value because it's such a good case study. Within our tender, we put within that tender that our street cleaners, number one, would be trained to understand symptoms of dementia, because early hours of the morning when they're street cleaning, there are often people wandering around, a lot of old people in the depths of Devon who've retired. So the street cleaners were trained how to deal with that, which was amazing. The second thing they realised that there were a lot of excluded kids in very rural areas who were cut off and lonely and isolated. So what they said to their street cleaners, if you find bikes that are abandoned, take the bikes. We're going to work with Dartmoor Prison. We get the bikes into Dartmoor Prison. We're going to use that as a way to upskill the prisoners, give them something really positive to do. When those bikes are refurbished, we're going to go to the 2 big cycling charities that there were. These charities were working with kids that were excluded, challenged, all had their issues. All of these things were things that the council needed to deliver. They needed to engage with these excluded kids. They need to improve their self-esteem, get them to eat properly, get them to exercise to be fit, get them talking to other children, all of which they did through cycling. They're oblivious. They didn't know that they were ticking all those boxes. They were doing it because they loved cycling. But the best bit was at the end of it, all those kids, if they passed their cycling proficiency, they got a bike. Now that's life-changing for some of these children who are in isolated communities. So Kier Construction said to me, not only will that win us a tender, they'll never take it away from us because we're doing so much good. As we were saying, some of the headlines I've got to deliver on health and well-being, helping kids long-term unemployed, so using cycling, putting that good at the heart of it, look how much they delivered for the council. I just thought that was a really good example all those years ago. I thought it was amazing. I'm just trying to think of other headings that I've got to deliver on social value. I could read it from you, couldn't I? I was just doing that this morning. Sorry, I can tell you. You don't really want to know. It's boring, isn't it? But the one thing for all of you to be aware, when I took this role on, I've got a list. They put a tender in, promising the social value that they were going to deliver on. So I've got headings and I've got to make sure that we walk those over the line. So employ 6 local people, employ 1 ex-veteran, 100 hours working with schools and colleges, because for us, we want to encourage children to see STEM subjects as exciting, because that's going to create a pipeline of potential children that will actually have jobs that they can work on. Apprenticeships, oh, that'd be great. Can't wait to work with Glascow. They have T-level students. We can partner them up with volunteers, and even with the Lido, they want to have 98% solar panel electric. That's going to kill them at the moment. That's their biggest challenge. So if we can build using unwanted materials, partner up staff with the college learns skills, building the carports, they plop on the solar panel, and guess what amazing legacy. That could secure the future of the Lido for many generations. So that is a good outcome. So that's sort of the things that we could do on apprenticeships. Helping unemployed into work. We've got unpaid work placements. I could do 12 weeks of that, because again, placements are a real problem. You talk to the colleges, these poor kids, they're taught by academics who know about the academic side of it, but they don't know the real life applications. So when I was with Royal Ag last week talking about the students planting trees, these amazing professors, I shouldn't even be in the same room with them. They're fantastic on the academic side. But when we started saying, or Arcadis did, about what they did in terms of CAD drawings, environmental work, and then suddenly these academics go, oh, actually, that's a new area. We hadn't thought about that. Perhaps we could place some of our students with you. And actually, the students can do some amazing research studies on some of it. Arcadians have to move some soil, whereas before they used to move it around and didn't even care. Now, all these earth movements, and you'll never look at a roadwork again when you're on the M5 or sat in traffic. They have to analyse the soil. They know that the soil's got a lot of nitrate in it because it's farming land. So they have to get the nitrates out. So when they replace the soil on this scheme, it's good for the replanting. So the trees are, it's made my ears were bleeding. It was all too much. But you can see where something like that, putting good at the heart of it, you're bringing the world of academia together with the world of business. So we're actually giving real life opportunities to their students, which I think is so important. I didn't go to university. I just University of Life. Expert business advice, so helping the voluntary sector, helping SMEs. I thought this was an interesting one, but I've got to deliver mental health campaigns internally for our staff. But actually, once we start on this project, and we'll be employing hundreds of people working, health and wellbeing is important because it's health and safety. If people aren't in the right space, that's when accidents happen. So I absolutely understand why that will be something that we will do later on down the line. We have to donate materials, 250 hours of volunteering time. And I will make sure that whatever we do volunteering ticks some of those outcomes. So we're working with the council, there's us, there's Arcadis. So I will do mixed teams. So one person from Arcadis, one person from Galliford Try, one person from the council. And we're going to do things like work with CCP with Hamper Scamper, where we're filling up hampers to go out to the most needy over Christmas. But I'm also going to Glos Coal saying, you've got a catering department, let's talk to your young catering students. How can we do recipe cards that can go into those hampers to help people make their food go further and help with food poverty? That's really important. We've got 16,000 tonnes. Don't ask me about this. When I set up as a CSR consultant, I said, I do all the community stuff, but don't ask me about the planet. So I'll do people. But when it comes to planet, hands up, I'm not experienced. I bring in the people who know what they're talking about. But we have to do that. Apparently, Arcadis have already done that. That makes me very happy. We've got to do 4 hours of volunteering for ecosystems and environment. And we've also got to look at green spaces for community to use and biodiversity. So that's kind of the headings I've got to do. So I've got to come up with solutions in terms of the delivery and get maximum impact from that. So just to give you a flavour, and it's kind of four pillars, if you like. I'll just show you. I won't show you because you don't need to see it. But the 4 pillars that we have been working on, because I've had to put this social values strategy together for this junction. The 4 pillars, which is always useful for you to understand, and also, one of you is going to be able to jump in here. The worldwide 16 headings that we should be looking at. I'll find that out. I'll share it with you afterwards. And my mind's gone completely blank. But for this project, we're kind of clustering all that I've just said under health and wellbeing, employment and skills, environment and decarbonisation, and local economic growth. Because again, thank you very much. UN sustainability goals, I could kiss you. Thank you for that. That's amazing. I just went completely blank. But if you will always refer to those, that gives you the why, because the why is the biggest thing. As I said last week, some member of staff at Galliford Try said, oh, what do you do? Oh, I do social value. Oh, that's that fluffy stuff. So I've got to change 4,500 people, but we've got to put at the heart of what we do. It's not soft and fluffy anymore. It's a go-to must do thing. I'm breathing now. Any more questions? I was just going to leave with 5 top tips. So if you've got any questions you want to chip in now, I'm going to look down through the comments. Have I missed anything there, Catherine?
No, just lots of "aren't you amazing" type comments.
Oh, I love you very much. Oh, you're sweet.
So yeah, everyone's feeling the love, Claire, and
good.
There's a lot of support for you.
That's all I want. If I can just inspire people to see the world differently, that makes me happy. Makes me happy.
I've got a question for you, and everyone else, if you want to, somebody said they want the Claire AI bot. If you want to ask the real thing some questions, then please do pop your hands up or stick your questions in the chat, and we'll come to them. But I think from my perspective, one of the most difficult things about kind of engaging in the CSR agenda as a social business is knowing how to get into an organization and who you can talk to. So I just wondered if you got any advice for us around that.
That's a really good question. If you're looking at some of the big corporates will probably have a head of CSR. That's easy. If you're looking to deliver on social value, there will be social value leads. This is why I love LinkedIn. You can do so much research off LinkedIn. I know within Gloucestershire that SoGlos publish a list of the top 100 businesses every year, and that's kind of my go-to, or was when I was self-employed. So I could use that as a reference, and then I could do my stalking on LinkedIn to find the right person to speak to. And you're absolutely right. The right person is hard to find. I've even had conversations where people have said, you don't need a CSR lead anymore because it should be so entrenched within the business. You don't need one person to make it happen. I hear that. That's very honourable. But I still believe those who are effective and efficient at delivering the good, you need one person to push it through. Even with Spirex Arco, when I went in to support them, I managed to have 3 willing volunteers from within the company to work with me to do the volunteering. But at the end, they say our day job's too onerous. We've got to step aside. And there I was looking at them thinking, I need somebody within the organisation. So I've got that one-to-one contact. So it was tricky. So yeah, finding the right person is difficult, but don't be afraid to look at heads of marketing and heads of HR. If you've got solutions, try talking to them. And Nikki's got a question. Fire away, Nikki.
Hi, I think you're awesome. Anyway,
I love you very much. I'll adopt you, Nikki. It's fine. You can be my daughter. It's okay.
Yeah, that's great. Oh no, I might have to be your sister.
Okay. No, I'm old.
That's
You
fine.
can easily be my daughter. It's fine.
So it's a really confusing one. So we're a community interest company.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're not a charity that goes to employers for funding in the
Nope.
same way as a charity does. So we're kind of a business that's trying to sell our solution.
Yeah.
But the problem is our CSR agenda probably isn't as good as it could be. But the
Yeah.
problem we also have is we're also trying to generate revenue because we are a very small CIC. So we're kind of caught up in the, I guess it's that kind of spiral of we're not going to companies because we want them to fund our charity. We're going to companies because we want them to fund what we do and the value it provides. But there's different agendas for employers because they don't necessarily like CICs in the same way as they do charities. So how do we do that?
Now that's really interesting. So 2 years ago, I set up something called Together Gloucestershire, because that I'm still on the board of Cheltenham Chamber. I'm still a trustee of Gloucestershire Community Foundation. Knowing how much the world is changing, knowing social value is becoming more and more important, knowing that we had a duty of care to all of our members, SMEs, sole traders. I am very passionate about the local economy and keeping the money in the county. So I went to Cirencester Chamber and FSB and said, we have a duty of care to these small businesses because we need to understand how procurement has changed, and we need to get the heads of procurement in one room. This is just an idea because you could do this and you could lead on this. So we got the heads of big procurement in a room. It was actually held at police headquarters because we had a head of procurement for the police, the NHS, so we had public sector people in the room, the council. We had some big charities in the room and we had some big private businesses in the room. And we just looked at them and said, please explain to us how your procurement has changed in light of social value. How are you procuring now? Because we need to understand that. We need to educate our members so that they have the tools to make those applications, show them how to write tenders, add those social values into it, etc., etc. So, and encourage collaboration to enable them to win that business. So it's still going on. It's no quick fix. We're trying to create like a basic accreditation because we're all at different stages of our journey. Some of us are just starting to build all these values into our business. Some of us are way ahead of it and probably B Corp. And if none of you have heard of B Corp, have a look at it. But it's so bloody onerous for small businesses. It's not a hope in hell, bless them. So that is a project that's been going on in the background. As part of my social value that I'm delivering, 70% of what we buy has to be local. So more and more and more councils are going to have to think about procuring locally. If you can use that as a hook and say by using us within your supply chain, you're ticking your local box, you're keeping your carbon footprint to a minimum. Guess what? By using us, we're delivering good. So we're really adding value to your social value because of the good that we can bring to the table. And an example of that, when I was mentoring some social enterprises in Cornwall, amazing guy, he frightened the hell out of me. He got great big earrings in and tattoos, and I was like, he was the softest, kindest, gentlest person I'd ever met. Christian Hearn, amazing. And he came in and he was very passionate about helping people, neurodiverse kids, into work, and he believed that gardening was a great way to help them. So he created a gardening business. So I was banging on, I hadn't got the social value as a stick to beat them with at the time, but I was going to the council saying, hang on a minute, you're using your usual people to cut the grass and tree maintenance, etc. If you had him in your supply chain, he's ticking one of your boxes. He's helping getting kids into employment. Why wouldn't you employ his services as a social enterprise or a CIC? Because you're doing your good through the supply chain. So there's something around that, Nikki, if you want to have another conversation about that over and above this, but things are moving that way. but you're absolutely right. It's knowing who to speak to. And I think it tends to be the heads of procurement. And actually, increasingly now, heads of procurement have to understand social value because, as I said, 70% of what we have to deliver on this project has to be sourced locally. So there is an opportunity there for you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. I might pick your brains a little bit after.
Yeah, do.
Thank you. Brilliant.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Any more questions?
Anybody else got any questions? I've got another one. I could keep going all day. So another problem that is very common, I think, is when us as organisations whose services are all around social value, when we put in, say, a bid for an employability program to, let's say, support neurodiverse young people, since that's the example you just gave, with the Social Value Act, we're also kind of increasingly seeing an additional section in the bid that says, and what extra social value will you deliver? And I think that's quite a difficult ask for organisations who are already bidding for something that delivers social value. You know, kind of asking them the question, what else can you do, I think is quite a difficult one, and can often be quite tricky to answer effectively.
I think that's where you've got an opportunity to think about who you could collaborate with. So suddenly your bang for your buck is going wider. Just time to think of a real life case study on that one. So say, I can't think of a real life case study. If I think of one, I'll share one with you, Catherine. But you then can say, by using us, we're delivering what you've asked us to do, but actually we are spreading the message to the people that we're collaborating with in order to deliver this. So there's something around that, because then they've got to sit up and listen and think, actually, shit, okay, by working with you, we're touching X number of people, but because you are collaborating with X, Y, and Z, the reach is bigger. So why wouldn't they come to you? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Good steer. Thank you very much.
Probably not a good answer. I said just me off the top of my head. Sorry.
It's always me who asks the difficult ones.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, I'll sort you out after the session. Don't you worry.
Thanks very much. Right. Anybody got any more? Any additional questions or thoughts, or anyone want to actually share any examples that they have from their own organisations or businesses? Would love to hear those as well.
Because what I was going to end up was like 5 top tips of things to do, just because I don't like talking and you all going away thinking, shit, I don't know where to start. So I thought, well,
yes, please. That sounds fab, Claire. Yes, please.
So the first top tip I'd say, wherever you are on this journey, just allow yourself, and certainly within the charitable, we're all too busy and we don't sit and take headspace and time out to absolutely look at the bit. And I always say charities are businesses. That's a really big thing of mine. But look internally, if you've got an ESG or a CSR strategy, review it. Don't be afraid to pop it into AI. It's fascinating, absolutely fascinating. I've done it occasionally, but I have owned up. And just revisit it, because it's constantly evolving. So just because you have one, don't forget to keep reviewing it once a year. You know, if you have a half a day away out of the office, really important. And if you bring your head of HR and your head of your marketing within to have that conversation, because as I was saying, it helps on so many levels, HR and marketing, recruitment, retaining staff, building relationships with other like-minded businesses, think local, win business, reduce risk, create a unique selling point, great content, volunteering helps health and well-being, client loyalty, carbon footprint, because you're going to be asked about keeping it reduced. So if you can think local, buy local, that's going to have an impact on that. And of course, that's brilliant, because it's keeping it in the local economy, but it's also good for the environment. And guess what? Usually saves you money. Another thing I think really important, as I was saying earlier, is a short survey. You know, you think that you're all on the same page, but if you're looking internally at your CSR, ESG, what do the management think? What do the next level do? And so on, staff, stakeholders, same 10 questions. I'm sure AI would come up with them, and overlay them. And then you'll immediately see where there's a disconnect. And that's really important, because we do tend to, because we breathe it, we think everybody else does, and they don't always do that, as we know. And that's where the risk comes in. Supply chain's really important. So I've been saying to Galliford Try, whereas before, if they were having a talk, they'd have gone to a hotel, just a standard hotel, and rented a room. So now I'm saying to them, you can deliver so much through your supply chains. Find a social enterprise and hire a room from them. Use independence. There's an amazing cafe in Cheltenham called the Sober Parrot, set up by Nelson Trust. Sober Parrot has been created as a social enterprise. People with addictions, domestic violence, they get their confidence by working in the Sober Parrot cafe. So whenever I need outside catering, I will get them in, because what a great way of delivering social value through your supply chain. Really important. Another easy thing to do, we all have our one-to-ones every year. Don't be afraid to ask your staff what they're already doing out there, because you'll be surprised. A lot of them probably already doing good stuff. They're probably trustees, they're probably governors of schools. I was talking to South West Water years ago. They had a light bulb moment. They kind of put everybody into a pigeonhole. You're doing cleaning sewage out, you're doing that, blah blah blah. So when they did their appraisals, they actually started asking their staff what they did outside of work. Well, they nearly fell off their chairs. They suddenly found that there were people who were managing the finances for their local football team. They were volunteering, doing mentoring, and they had put them into this little hole. And they suddenly thought, oh my God, they've got all these skills that they've learned outside of work. We can actually progress their careers in different ways. And I would never have known that if they hadn't asked that simple question. So encouraging your staff, because it's good for them too. And they love you because you're allowing them to be school governors or trustees. Really important. And then finally, working more closely with our schools and colleges, whether you're a social enterprise, a CIC, whoever you are, bring the young brains in. And I do laugh. We've got to listen more to the younger generation. We are custodians of their future, so listen to them. And as I said, allowing your staff to read in the local schools. We love giving back, but they are desperate. I'm doing a half day with a charity that helps very challenged young people. So I'm doing interview techniques, and I know I'm going to get twice as much out of that afternoon than the individual is that I'm coaching. And who knows, you find raw talent. You might find somebody that you can bring in on apprenticeship, and they'll love you and they'll stay with you. So hopefully there's a few ideas of things that you can do. And thank you, Jessica. She's probably jumped off already. And thank you very much, Jackie. All these lovely comments. I shall take great joy in reading those in a minute. I'll put my I've just put my email address and encourage you to join up with me on LinkedIn at the end. So I know we're a bit ahead of time, sort of 25 minutes ahead of time, but yes, please do get in touch with me. I know I hate asking questions in front of everybody, so feel free that you can drop me a line. I've used my own personal address because just come to me. Sod Galliford Try, come to me. Oh, thank you, Tracy.
Thank you, Claire. That was wow. Where did that hour go? I don't know about everyone else, but that just zipped by. So time flies when you're enjoying yourself. So for sure, lots of lovely comments there in the chat. Thank you for putting your email in as well, Claire, and for a brilliant session today. Really enjoyed that one.
You see why I don't like PowerPoint, Catherine? I can't bear it. I can't talk. I got my prompts to my left, but I feel so constricted by PowerPoints and people reading it. I don't want that. That's why I had to talk from the heart. It's much more important.
Well, absolutely, and everyone's sort of agreeing with you, I guess.
Right.
I have popped in the chat there a feedback form, so if you could all please click on that and give us your feedback on today's session. We do that for everyone and every session that we deliver, and it also enables us to pick your brains about what you might like to hear about in future sessions. Right. So please, before you jump off, everyone, just have a little look at that and just answer the few questions. Honestly, it won't take you very long at all. Also, before we sign off, I just want to obviously bring to your attention that we are in October, for anyone who hasn't noticed, and it is ADHD Awareness Month, and it is also Sensory Processing Awareness Month. And actually, this week is a really big week for all the differences. So we are also in Dyslexia Awareness Week, Dyspraxia Awareness Week, and we have Dysgraphia Awareness Day on the 10th of October. So if you want any support or any help with any of those things, or promoting and celebrating those neuro differences in your organisation, give us a shout. We've got lots of articles on our website that you can use and share with your colleagues to help get that awareness and understanding piece out there. I think that's it. What are we looking forward to? Is it next one, Kasia? Is it November? And we're doing a session on reasonable adjustments. Am I right about that? I think yes, nodding ahead. Fab. So we've got another brilliant lady. There's a lot of them around. Coming to talk to us around reasonable adjustments.
Sorry, trying to get myself off mute. Yeah,
that's okay.
Yeah, that's right. A reasonable adjustment.
Fantastic. So that'll be another great one for supporting people. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for all your messages and all your support. Thank you, Claire, for a brilliant session. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of the day and a brilliant week, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.